In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. In this session, we want to talk about working with 360-degree cameras. And I will share with you the general principles as well as some tips and my own experiences on this topic. But before we get into the topic of working with 360-degree cameras, it's necessary to introduce you to the monopods or special stands designed for this purpose. There are various situations where you might want to take a 360-degree photo or record a 360-degree video. And for this purpose, you need to have a dedicated monopod. The monopod on the left, as you can see, is one that you're already familiar with from previous videos. In fact, this is a homemade monopod that we use so we could take 360-degree photos with a smartphone, and the camera is installed on smartphones. We discussed this topic in detail in a separate video. You can use this same stand and mount your 360-degree camera on it as well. How does that work? The stand you see here in the middle is a simple, ordinary monopod. This monopod is used when you are moving along a path. You mount your 360-degree camera on it, hold the stand in your hand, and take photos along the path, whether it's outside the city, in the mountains, in the forest, or anywhere else you want to take pictures. These monopods are generally used for this purpose. They are lightweight and portable, and you can mount your camera on the screw provided here, making it easy to use this monopod. Now, the next monopod is specifically designed for 360-degree cameras and is used for 360-degree photography in indoor spaces. As you can see, its height is adjustable telescopically like this, so you can set it to the desired height. And just like the previous monopod, this one also has a dedicated screw where you can mount and secure your camera and then use it. Well, the monopod I mentioned to you, as you can see, has 3 legs, and this isn't very suitable for outdoor use. It doesn't provide much stability, and there's a bit of a risk if you want to mount your 360-degree cameras on it. We mostly use this monopod for shooting indoors, where the floor is usually flat. We don't need much stability, and there's no particular risk threatening our camera. But if you want to shoot outdoors, we need this stand to stay firmly in place so that wind or other factors like accidentally kicking it or bumping into it don't cause the stand to fall and damage our camera. So in order to be able to take a 360-degree photo outdoors and also keep our camera safe, we use a combination of the 2 previous stands I mentioned. This stand, which is the homemade stand I introduced in the previous video, has a heavy, stable base and offers excellent stability. That means even if you bend it and let go, it will return to its original position. So all I need to do is attach this small monopod, which is also telescopic, and its length can be adjusted to this stand, and use it for 360-degree photography in outdoor environment. All right, I'll pause the video, connect these 2 monopods together, and then show it to you again. As you can see, I've brought my regular monopod and mounted it onto this base with my own Shodani and stable setup. Its height is also adjustable telescopically, so this way I can easily use it for photography in outdoor spaces. All right, let's move on to mounting the camera on the monopod and some explanations about how to take photos using 360-degree cameras. So the 360-degree camera that I use and that I intend to introduce to you today. The camera is the Samsung Gear, which is actually a camera produced by Samsung specifically for 360-degree photography. An important point that I need to mention right from the start is that the lenses of 360-degree cameras are extremely sensitive, and the first thing you need to be careful about is making sure the lenses don't get damaged. It's the camera lenses. In fact, these 360-degree cameras have 2 180-degree lenses that are positioned back to back, and they each capture a 180-degree panoramic image. Then we import these images into the camera's dedicated app or software, and 2 180-degree images are stitched together back to back so that we end up with a single 360-degree spherical photo. Well, this Samsung camera comes with its own tripod, which we can use whenever we want to take 360-degree photos of small spaces. So we can use this tripod for those situations. Another use is that the legs can be folded up like this, and we can hold the tripod in our hand and use the camera to shoot 360-degree videos and photos. Before we start taking photos each time, we need to make sure that the camera lenses are completely clean. Well, the design that Samsung has come up with is really interesting, the pouch in which we actually place the camera. The material inside is such that it can clean the lenses very well. In fact, if you use the inner lining of this pouch to clean the lenses, you'll see that this fabric does an excellent job of cleaning your camera lens. To turn on the camera, we first need to insert the battery into the camera. So be sure to note that if the batteries in these types of cameras are removable, which is the case with most cameras, you should remove the battery when you're not using the camera so that the battery's lifespan increases. Pay attention to this part. I open the back cover. There's a slot here that you can see. The slot here is for inserting a micro memory card, a micro SD memory card. And in this section, you also have the charging slot and the charger ports. So when the battery is inside the camera, you can charge it from this part. Let me also mention regarding this memory card that the memory cards used for these cameras must be high-speed memory cards. And if you use regular memory cards, taking photos with these cameras will be somewhat slow. The memory card is installed in its place like a cartridge. And you also insert the battery into its place in this way and close the battery cover. Now, like this, we can indeed turn on the camera. But before I actually turn it on, I will meticulously mount it securely on my sturdy monopod or perhaps my reliable tripod. And I will then proceed to give you the remaining comprehensive explanations while it is firmly positioned on its stable stand. Alright, from this particular section, I will carefully hold down the power button for a good few seconds, patiently waiting until the camera fully and completely turns on, indicating it is ready for operation. After the camera turns on, you will see the LED display of this camera, which shows the number of photos you can take with the current memory status. With this 16 gigabytes memory, I can take up to 1087 photos, and it also shows the battery status and the mode or setting the camera is currently on. You will also see two red lights, one on this side and the other on that side, which indicate that both of your lenses are on. And if you take a photo in this mode, the camera will capture a complete 360-degree photo for you. The camera. All right. The next button, which is located immediately above the power button, is the menu button. By pressing this button, you enter the camera's menu, and by pressing it again, you can change the modes. I will explain each of these to you one by one. You can enter the device settings. You can record 360-degree videos. You can shoot 360-degree time lapses and access other settings. Now I'm going into the settings. With the OK button located on top of the camera, you can enter these settings. In this section, the lens switch, you can change the lenses. If I enter it, there's a dual lens option, which means both lenses will be on. Single lens front means only the front lens will be on. Single lens rear means only the rear lens will be on. And that's it. I'm selecting dual lens. Again, I'm going into the settings. The next option is video size, where we can set the output video quality we want. Photo size lets us change the output photo quality here. And we can also adjust the quality of the time-lapse video duration. The next option is the timer, which we will need. There are different modes available: off, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, and 10 seconds. So there is an off mode. And if we set the timer to off and enter the photo mode and want to take a picture, by pressing this option, our 360-degree photo will be taken immediately. And if we go to the timer and select any of the delay seconds, for example, if we choose 5 seconds, after pressing the shutter button, the camera will take the photo after 5 seconds. As you saw, the 5-second or 10-second timer is extremely useful, which I will explain further. The best way you can use this camera and this battery is when you use the camera's timer for taking photos. You see, these cameras have a feature that allows them to pair using Wi-Fi signals. By using software installed on your smartphone, they can pair with the phone and you can control the camera through your phone at the same time. However, if you use this feature, it consumes a lot of power and the camera's battery will drain faster. Therefore, you can take fewer photos in that mode. And if you are in a place where you need to take more pictures, you will have to use the timer. In fact, you first connect your phone to the camera. You make the necessary settings, then disconnect the phone and take your photos using the timer. The timer is there so that after you press the shutter button, you have time to step out of the frame yourself, allowing you to capture a 360-degree photo without yourself appearing in it. Well, next we want to talk about the application that is installed on your phone and pairs with this camera and how you can make settings from within that app and control the camera. Also, after that, we'll discuss the applications or software that are installed on your computer, which you can use to stitch the 360-degree images and also edit them. I will explain all of this to you, dear viewers. But before we get into the applications and software, I want to mention two very important points. Regarding this camera, first of all, the photo you take with these 360-degree cameras is actually a rectangular panorama image that contains some distortion. After this image is converted into a sphere, objects regain their true shape. Therefore, it's important for you to be able to distinguish between the front and rear lenses, especially if there is a significant issue and you plan to edit the photo later. You can edit it in software like Photoshop or other programs and add some details to the photo. It is extremely important that the feature you want to photograph is positioned in front of the front lens of your camera. On the Samsung 360-degree camera, the lens that faces the LED screen is the front lens. That is the front lens of the camera. Therefore, if there is a sign or a specific feature that is important to me and I want to do special edits on it later, it is important that this lens is positioned facing that feature. The reason for this is that when a spherical image is unfolded, the part of the image that actually gets opened up and turned into a flat surface starts from the rear lens. That means half of the rear lens goes to one side of the frame and the other half goes to the other side of the frame. So if your sign or object is positioned in front of the rear lens, that object will be split in half and you'll have to edit or modify it separately on both sides, on two separate sides of the image. Of course, editing software has made significant advancements and can now edit 360-degree panoramic images in fully three-dimensional form. However, naturally, they require a lot of memory. They require a high-speed CPU, and you need a more powerful computer to be able to edit them. To avoid this issue and to be able to edit 360-degree photos, even with regular computers, you must definitely keep this point in mind. The next important point I need to mention is that if you are shooting 360-degree photos outdoors, try as much as possible to keep these lenses out of direct sunlight. Although, after all, these are 160 or 180-degree lenses, and in any case, light will enter the camera. But the best situation is to avoid direct sunlight hitting the lens because it might ruin your photo. So it's better that if the sunlight is coming from one side, you position the sides of the camera toward the direct light. And the best weather for 360-degree outdoor photography is relatively cloudy weather. That is, weather where there isn't harsh sunlight. Next, we're going to talk about the Samsung 360 app and how we can use this application to control our camera and adjust its internal settings. Unfortunately, this application is blocked for Iranian users, and in order to use it, we need to download the raw APK file from the internet and install it on our phone. Alternatively, we can use some apps that allow us to download raw APK files, such as the APK Pure app or the Bazaar app, for example. And I explained how to use the Bazaar app to install these kinds of programs like Google Street View or Samsung Gear. I covered this in a previous video. In fact, the video that was made about how to take 360-degree photos using the Google Street View app fully explains how to install this program on your phone. And next, we want to control our 360-degree camera with this app. To do this, we first need to turn on the Wi-Fi. Location and also the Bluetooth on our phone. After we have activated these, we go and turn on our 360-degree camera. Once the camera is on, we open the Samsung Gear app. If this is the first time you have installed this app, you first need to introduce your camera model to it. I have already done this, and after that the app automatically finds the camera and connects to it. Now my phone is connected to the camera, and by tapping the camera option I can enter the camera settings. So in this way, after the camera is connected to the phone, you can view live on your phone whatever the camera is capturing. From down here on the bottom right, I will explain each of the available options to you one by one. This option actually lets us see the current state of the camera, meaning we can view how the camera is capturing images. For example, if we select panorama, it will display the entire screen for us in this way. Or if we choose dual view, it will show us both lenses like this, side by side. The best mode is the stretch option, which I usually use, and round, which displays it as a sphere, like this. It shows us the image. And in fact, the 360-degree mode displays the image on a sphere for us. As I mentioned, the best mode is this stretch view. I won't go into the next option because it's not compatible with my phone. In fact, my phone doesn't have enough power to display the gallery of captured photos. There's a gallery, which you can see in the bottom right corner. If you enter the gallery, the phone will display the photos you've taken. In fact, the photos are stored in the camera's memory, but the phone can connect to the camera via Wi-Fi and show you a preview of the photos you've taken. The next option, which is located in the middle, is the shot button. By pressing it, the timer starts and the photo is taken. The best sequence. The next option is to change the shooting mode to either photo, video, or time-lapse. You can choose between 4 modes: video, time-lapse, or video loop. And the next option at the far left at the bottom is for changing the lens, which allows you to switch between dual lens, front, and rear. Let's go up and I'll explain the settings at the top of the screen to you, dear viewers. Alright, let me bring in a darker background. On the right, the first option, this is the general settings for the 360-degree camera. And by selecting it, you see options such as photo size. You can change the size of the photo that the camera takes and capture images at a quality of 14 megapixels. The highest quality photos this camera can take are 30 megapixels. The next option is the timer, which you can adjust as well. You can turn it off or set it to 2 seconds or 10 seconds. Next is ISO, which you need to pay attention to when selecting. In fact, ISO makes your image darker or brighter. Depending on the lighting in your environment, you can adjust the ISO. So if you are filming in a relatively dark environment, it's better to set the ISO high. And if you are filming in a very bright environment, you should set the ISO to 400, which is the minimum. However, I recommend that in environments with normal lighting, you set it to 1600. Keep in mind that if you increase the ISO, your image will become brighter, but a number of spots or pixels in the image will become visible to the naked eye. And if you use a lower ISO, those pixels will no longer be visible to the naked eye, and you need to use your experience to choose and set the best option in different lighting environments so that you can capture a suitable photo of the scene. The next option is sharpness, which you can set to either on or off. If it is set to off, your image won't be very sharp. In fact, the edges of the features in the image won't be very distinct. But if this option is on, it separates the features and elements clearly. You can also adjust this depending on the environment in which you are photographing. The next option is location tag. I recommend that you always keep this option on so that the location or geographic position where you are taking the photo with your camera is recorded on the picture. Cameras actually have their own GPS and can record the location on the photo. And if this location is recorded on the picture, when you want to upload the spherical image to Google Maps using the Google Street app, the photo will automatically find its place on the map very easily. You won't have to search around to find where you took the picture on the map. All right, let's exit this section. The next option, the second one from the top right, is the HDR option, which I recommend always keeping turned on. It has two modes, off or on. Actually, it stands for high dynamic range. And if you have this option enabled, if HDR is on the images you capture, can later be edited more extensively. You can make the image brighter or darker, and even adjust the colors to some extent using specialized software. The next option is white balance, which you can adjust based on the environment and the lighting conditions present. Right now, it's set to auto, and I recommend that you initially set these settings to auto. We have LED lighting. If you change it like this, you can see how the lighting in your image actually changes. The next option is regular lamp. Thermal lamps, which if your environment is lit with these types of lamps, you can select this option. In cloudy weather, you can choose this option, and in sunny weather, you can select the next option so that the image is adjusted to match the ambient light. Also, the last option is for underwater photography, but I recommend that you set the white balance to auto and make any adjustments for brightness, sharpness, or color later in photo editing software. The next option is the last one. It is your camera's aperture or shutter. If you increase this value to positive numbers, the camera's shutter aperture will actually open wider, allowing more light into the lens, and your photo will become clearer and brighter. If it's set too low, your photo will be darker, so I recommend keeping this setting at 0. Well, after you've made these settings, as I mentioned earlier, it's better to disconnect the connection between your phone and the camera and use the shutter button on the camera itself for taking photos. This way, you can get more efficiency out of the camera's battery and take more photos with that battery. So in this way, I disconnect the camera. Right. Next, we want to see how we can turn the 360-degree photos we've taken with a dedicated 360-degree camera into a panorama that can be used in virtual tour creation software. As you can see in this image, the photo taken by the 360-degree camera actually consists of two 180-degree spherical images where the objects and features appear distorted. We need to stitch these two images back to back so that they form a complete spherical photo. For this purpose, we use the Gear 360 Action Director software or application. We can easily download this software. All that you really need to do is simply type in the specific phrase Gear 360 Action Director into the search bar. We go to the Samsung website, and here there are various options available. First, what kind of system does this application require in order to run smoothly? It lists the CPU, RAM, graphics, and other specifications. And then in the next link, it explains how to install it. First, depending on your computer's operating system, whether Windows or Mac, you can download and install the software. He has also provided brief explanations in these sections to make it easier for you to use this software. Well, I have already installed this software on my system, and now we'll go ahead and explain to you how to use it. We'll use the first option, which is 360 VR video, because we want to edit our 360-degree photos and videos. This software is also useful for HD videos as well as for editing live broadcasts. But for now, we don't need those, and we'll use the first option, which is 360 VR video. After the software opens, we import the photo we want to edit into the software like this. We can also use this option and go to import media file, navigate to the directory where we've saved our photos or videos, and open our photo. As soon as the photo is open in the software, it automatically stitches it together. You can see that here we have a complete 360-degree panorama, and now the tripod legs have appeared right here. In fact, the camera base is also here, which we need to remove later. Now, we want to export this panorama. All you need to do is right-click on our image, select Open File Location, and find the location where the stitched image has been saved. Take this image from that location and move it to any directory you prefer. And it says that in order to cut the image from that directory and bring it here, it's better to close the software because the image is open there and it can't be cut from that directory. We don't need to save the changes, and we just cut the image and bring it here. And in this way, we can view the 360-degree panorama that we captured. Now, moving forward, we can remove these extra parts and import the image into specialized virtual tour